Okay, so we're going to look at the third section now, which is human-caused flooding. So we looked at human use on the supply of water, and now we're going to look at flooding. Flooding's been a big issue in many parts of the world for a long time. It's starting to get a little bit of a bigger issue in the United States. We saw with the hurricane that came a couple years ago into Texas, major flooding in Houston and different areas. Just going to take a look at it real quick. All right. So what causes human flooding? Flooding is really bad. Obviously, it can destroy homes, wash away buildings, ruin land, and cause death. River flooding is oftentimes unavoidable, and sometimes places that are prone to river flooding will put up dams. We'll put up walls on the side of the rivers called levees. They actually put these out in the Gulf in New Orleans to stop the flooding there from Katrina. Didn't really work. Katrina came in and kind of went over those levees anyway, but pretty much that's what's happening with that. But there are natural ways that flooding happens, but there are human actions that can cause an area around a river or anywhere else that is normally not to become prone to flooding. So the main causes are urban development, deforestation, and agriculture. Urban development. All right. So if you have a place along a river, many places along rivers are well developed. People like to live along rivers. Good fishing, travel, different. So civilizations have been set up along rivers. Sometimes just for recreation too. So there will be people living along the river. Okay. So now, since the 1900s, the development looks a little bit different, of course, where now much land is cleared, and then you put buildings, you put roads and other structures along the river. So when the water builds in heavy rains, instead of percolating into the ground as it rises up in the river and then just kind of going back into the ground, the more you develop, if basically on the ground as well, instead of just raining directly into the river and having the stuff that's on the ground go down into the ground, the more you develop, the less you let into the ground, the more roots you take away. Also, you're making hard surfaces that are impenetrable. You're going to have a lot more runoff, and that runoff is then going to flow into the lowest elevation, which in these cases will be the river. This will in turn cause the river water levels to rise and then flood the developed area from which it originally flowed. Places can combat river flooding by installing dams. And so basically, oh no, we're having a lot of flooding because we developed this area. Now the area that we're developed is flooding because we developed it. So let's develop something else and put up a wall. We put up the wall that floods the area behind. You pick an area that's not occupied. That area becomes a reservoir, and then you can control floodwaters as they go down. Of course, this does change ecosystems. Installing levees. I just talked about that. Levees are walls along the river, so that when the water level rises, it does not flow out into your developed area. And also, you could divert the natural flow of water away. Now, every single one of these, of course, disrupts some other area and ecosystem in that particular ecosystem as well. Deforestation. Because roots provide structure, so deforestation kind of goes along with urban development, but really deforestation could be not just for urban development. It could be for turning land into agricultural land. It could be for anything. So if you're along a river or a water source anywhere and you deforest, we kind of had this on the essay question or on the last test. When you deforest, and this was talking about mass movements back then, it's the same deal. When you deforest and you take all the vegetation out, you're taking all the roots out, you're taking all the soil structure out, yes, you can have mass movement, but also you are taking away the water holding capacity of that soil. Again, you're going to increase the runoff. You're going to also increase, because you don't have that ability to bring the water down into the soil and into the aquifer, you're now going to have just water staying on the surface and getting higher and higher and higher up, causing more flooding. So without a strong soil and humus layer, there's no way a forest can have water protection. Thus, in essence, this acts just like urban development. If an area is clear-cut or deforested, the water will run to its lowest part, the river, and cause flooding of the area, thus destroying more of the ecosystem. There's major deforestation and flooding in Haiti, and please watch the video that I linked here. It will go up. You can kind of see that. I don't want to play a video within a video here because I know that has issues, but please watch that and you can actually see the destruction of deforestation that has on flooding there. Agriculture. All right, agriculture really goes hand in hand with the other ones. It's like urbanization, but with crops, okay? So you use deforestation to cause that to happen. So changing the land from what's naturally is to farmland disrupts the natural flow of water and can, again, cause river flooding. The flooding then can in turn then ruin the crops that you planted there on the farmland. So to combat this, what farmers can do is build water storage systems in case of flooding. They can also build water diversions to go away from their farms or build their own levees around the farm to prevent flooding. There's a lot of good information on this website here that'll help you further understand. I want you to go through it. I'm not going to go through every single one here, but this is really cool. It tells you the following factors that can encourage flooding, like steep site surface, a lack of vegetation, deforestation, a drainage basin, and then an urban area. And then if you click down here, it goes through a bunch of different things, including impacts of flooding and how LEDCs tend to be more affected than MEDCs. You keep going over. We got a case study in the MEDC, which is in the UK, and it talks about the causes and the effects. Really pay attention to that and how many people were affected. So homeless businesses and cars, blinds. So there were some impacts there, but then you can see the same type of flooding that happens in Mozambique in 2000, and you definitely have higher issues there in the LEDC. Okay. And then the big one I want you to go on here is river management. What can you do? Dam construction, all right? And it goes through some pros and cons, all right? River management, how to manage the river itself. You can widen the river, you can deepen the river, things like that. And then what's the problem with greater risk of flooding downstream? And then those are hard engineering options, and so it's building structures. Soft engineering is going to be afforestation, replanting trees, manage flooding. You allow it to flood natural places, and planning itself. So those are really good. That's really important in terms of management. So please pay attention to that. And then another LEDC case study with Bangladesh. If you could look at the advantages to living there and how they can reduce flooding in an LEDC, that's super important and can be good for your ACE exam. Please make sure you read that and go over that. They talk about levees, and it's funded by the World Bank. It's kind of cool what they're doing there, but it's your job to go in and get more detail on that. The last thing on here, so please, please, please read that site and the management solutions particularly, and the case studies. There's a game on here I'd like you to take. If you can show me a screenshot of you actually winning this game, I don't even care if it's on easy level, that's fine, but if you give yourself a challenge, put it on hard level. It's a pretty cool simulation game where you actually go and do different things. It's I don't know if you guys ever played like SimCity. Probably too old talking about SimCity. It's an old game from when I was a kid. But it's kind of like that. It's all online, super cool. And it comes up, and you want to, it takes a little bit to load, but I do want to show you basically what we got going on here. So you've got these different ones. We're not going to do tsunami or hurricane. We're going to do the flood, obviously, for this one. So you can go down here, flood, Eastern Central Europe. You can pick any of them you want. I'll pick medium here. They take you through a little thing of, hey, we got the city. Here are your goals you have to do. Your challenge is to provide accommodation to 700 people, build one hospital and 2 schools, and cover the wells to make sure that you are going to protect people and property because there is going to be a flood. You have a budget of $40,000 and around 20 minutes to work. So you just kind of like have some fun in there. You play around. You click the little squares. In that square, then you can find out some info about it. Standard grass, that's easy to build on, cool. So I want to protect that house, so I'm going to add some protection. You got different things in there. You've got earth levees, walls, which are, construction levees, or a drainage ditch. What do you think you're going to put there? Different costs. Remember, you only have $40,000 to play with. And then so I'm going to put a drainage ditch there. Boom. All right, now I'm down to $39,680. So I have a lot of money to play with here. And you can show your risk. Where's the risk going to be? You can look at the different areas of different amounts of risk with the different colors, meaning areas are more risky. Some areas are more risky than others. Here's your wells you're supposed to cover. All right. So, boom, boom. Right. So I'm gonna upgrade that. Boom. Cool. So now I have an upgraded well. Maybe that's better. So basically, you want to go in and work on this place and stop it from flooding. At the end, you're going to click Start Disaster. The disaster will start. It's going to flood the whole town. It takes a little bit, but I'm definitely going to fail because I only made 2 improvements in the whole place. Let's let it go. It takes a little bit. And at the end, it's going to show me that I failed, hopefully in a minute. There we go. Flash floods, and then you want to click View Report, and fail, everything's a fail. All right, so I would not give the 5 points extra credit to me. All right, so you guys, if you could, just bring that into me by before break, and I'll give you your points. I think it's really cool that you can go in and actually do a simulation of the management types, and it actually will teach you what works where, and that will be helpful on your ACE exam and also just general knowledge. All right, so that's it for this section. That was, remember, 313, which was human caused flooding.